Ladies and gentlemen, time is not just ticking, it's vanishing. Every second that passes is not just gone, it's dead. You didn't lose it, you killed it. People walk through life like they've got a backup version. They act like the clock's going to reset at some point. Newsflash, it won't. This isn't a rehearsal, this isn't practice, this is the game, and every damn moment you waste pretending like you've got time to spare, you are robbing your own future. You are robbing your own destiny. Most people are obsessed with money. They'll guard it, fight over it, plan it, save it, and even risk relationships to protect it. But they'll throw away time like it's infinite. It's the dumbest contradiction on earth. Because here's the truth, you can always get more money, but you can't get more time. Time is the only currency that, once spent, is never returned. It doesn't matter who you are. Rich or poor, young or old, the clock is burning down your life second by second, and it doesn't care how you feel about it. You either respect that truth or become a casualty of it. You're not tired, you're not overwhelmed. You're not waiting for the right time, you're just not serious yet. If you were serious, you would look at every second like it's oxygen. You'd treat it like it matters. You'd wake up like your life depends on your next move, because it does. People waste time complaining about where they are, not realizing that in the time they've been whining, someone else already made a decision, executed a plan, and took the spot they wanted. That's the world. It's not fair, it's not nice, and it doesn't wait for your mood to improve. Stop lying to yourself. You know what you need to do. You know where you're falling short. You know the habits that are killing your momentum. The issue is never about not knowing, it's about not doing. And the reason you're not doing is because deep down you think you have time. You think life's going to open up a slot on your schedule someday and hand you the perfect moment to act. Wrong. That moment is now or never, period. You're sitting on potential that could change your life, your family, and your legacy, but you treat it like a hobby. You let fear, procrastination, distractions, and opinions steal your time, and every time you say tomorrow, the clock just laughs. You think tomorrow is guaranteed. How many people thought they had another year, another month, another conversation until they didn't? How many dreams were buried under headstones because someone said, "I'll do it later"? Later is the deathbed of greatness. And don't come with the excuse of "I'm too busy." Everyone's busy. Winners don't have more time, they just have different priorities. They don't scroll when they're supposed to be building. They don't binge Netflix when they're supposed to be grinding. They don't waste precious hours entertaining negativity, drama, and doubt. They cut the fat. They eliminate what doesn't serve the mission. They move with urgency, and most importantly, they respect time like it's sacred, because it is. You want to know how successful people win. It's not luck, it's not privilege, it's awareness. They are painfully aware of how fast time is slipping away. They don't sleepwalk through life. They don't hit snooze 12 times and pretend like their goals will wait. They treat every second like a test they must pass, while others sit around doubting, waiting, wishing. They act fast, ruthlessly, consistently. That's the game, that's the level. That's how you create a life most people can't even imagine. Your future isn't written in some magical script. It's being written by what you're doing right now. Right this second, every decision you make is either pulling you forward or pushing you back. You don't coast in life. You climb or you fall. There's no neutral, so the real question is, what the hell are you doing with your seconds? Are you investing them or are you wasting them? Every second is a seed. Plant the wrong ones, you grow regret. Plant the right ones, you grow freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of choice, but that freedom demands sacrifice. It demands saying no to instant pleasure so you can say yes to long-term power. It demands waking up earlier, working harder, thinking sharper, moving faster. It demands you stop entertaining the version of you that makes excuses and start feeding the version that takes charge. You think greatness is some mystical thing that shows up one day. No. Greatness is a decision made every second. And that decision is yours, not tomorrow, not when life gets easier, not when someone comes and saves you. Now, because if you keep burning time like it doesn't matter, you're going to look back and realize you wasted your best years chasing distractions, avoiding discomfort, and entertaining weakness. And by then, the seconds you burned won't just be gone, they'll be the reason you're stuck, the reason you're bitter. The reason you'll be forced to tell stories about who you could have been if only you had started sooner. Your mind is the most powerful force you will ever possess, but it can either build you into a machine or break you into a slave. There is no middle ground. The thoughts you repeat, the internal dialogue you allow, the beliefs you entertain, they don't just sit there. They shape you. They drive your actions, your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately your results. And most people, they are prisoners of their own minds, shackled by doubts, insecurities, fears, memories, and stories that were never even true to begin with. Their mind is not their ally, it's their enemy, not because it was designed to be that way, but because they never took control of it. You weren't born weak, you weren't born broken, you were born with a mind capable of immense focus, creation, and direction. But society, school, trauma, television, social media, and the constant noise of failure disguised as entertainment has infected it. You've been trained to react emotionally, to avoid discomfort, to expect instant gratification. You've been conditioned to doubt yourself, compare yourself, and believe that your current situation is some fixed reality. That's the biggest lie you've ever swallowed. Your mind is either your weapon or your warden. If you don't use it to break through, it will lock you in. Negative feelings are the chains. They whisper things like you're not good enough, what's the point, no one cares, you always mess it up, and you listen. You treat those thoughts like facts when they're nothing but fiction repeated too often. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves your attention. Most people treat every feeling like it's truth and wonder why they're stuck. Let's get one thing straight, your thoughts are not you. They're just patterns you've rehearsed for too long. You've got to become the master of your inner dialogue. You need to interrupt the automatic negativity that keeps running like a broken record in your head. You need to stop entertaining self-pity like it's some loyal friend. It's not. It's the thief of your potential. It convinces you to stay small. It disguises comfort as safety, when in reality, it's just stagnation dressed up in fake peace. Your mind is programmable. You weren't born thinking negative things about yourself. You learned that. And anything learned can be unlearned. But you've got to put in the reps. You don't fix your mindset in a day. You don't overcome years of mental self-abuse with a quote on Instagram. This is war, a war that must be fought daily. When that voice says you can't, you replace it with watch me. When it says you're tired, you say good. Pain builds power. When it says you're not ready, you say no one ever is and I'm still going. This is how warriors are built, not by feeling positive all the time, but by not letting negative thoughts dictate their path. Winners feel the same fear, the same doubt, the same pressure, but they don't obey it. They confront it, challenge it, override it. And every time they do, they rewire their brain to become stronger, more focused, more unbreakable. That's the game. It's mental conditioning, and most people are too lazy to play it. They'd rather be victims. They'd rather repeat their sad story to themselves and others, thinking that talking about the problem is the same as solving it. It's not. Talking without action is just emotional masturbation. You want change, get control of your mind. Become the one who decides what thoughts get airtime. Decide who you are, what you believe, and where you're going, and shut down anything that doesn't align with that. You think you're powerless because you've felt powerless. You think you're stuck because you've been stuck. You think you can't change because you've tried before and failed. So what? That failure wasn't final. It was feedback. The problem is you let your feelings define your facts. You let temporary emotions become permanent beliefs. You let your mind get lazy, and now it's time to get savage about taking it back. Every great transformation starts in the mind before it ever touches reality. Your external results are just a mirror of your internal state. You can fake confidence to the world, but you can't fake your dominant thoughts. They leak out in how you walk, talk, grind, and respond to pressure. That's why mindset isn't just something you do, it's who you are. You need to become the kind of person who disciplines their thoughts with the same intensity as their body or their money. Because when your mind is dialed in, everything else follows. The most dangerous person is the one who no longer believes every thought they think. They analyze it, test it, replace it if it's weak. They build a mental fortress so strong that no external event can collapse their internal world. That's the level. That's the power most never reach, not because they can't, but because they won't put in the work. But you're not most people. You know your mind is either building your dream or burying it, and you're not here to be buried. You're here to rise, so take control, not tomorrow, not later, now, because the mind doesn't wait, it obeys. Either you take command or you live in a prison made by your own thoughts. Feelings lie. That's the truth most people can't handle. They let their feelings dictate their reality, their actions, their choices, and what happens? Nothing. They stay broke, stuck, lost, and weak because they're waiting for motivation, waiting to feel better, to feel ready, to feel inspired. That's not how this works. That's not how warriors operate. That's how losers think. Your feelings are soft. They change with the weather. They shift with your mood, and if you build your life based on feelings, you will be unstable for the rest of your existence. What tells the truth is your action, your movement, your execution, your habits, what you do, day in and day out, regardless of how you feel. That's who you are. That's what builds you. You wake up and you don't feel like doing the work. Too bad. Winners don't negotiate with emotions. They don't ask themselves how they feel about doing what's required. They don't look for energy, they create it. They move first. Action creates clarity, confidence, and strength. Waiting for a feeling to save you is coward talk. You'll be waiting forever. Most people don't move because they've been trained to believe emotions are some holy signal. They're not, they're just signals, nothing more. Sometimes they're accurate, most of the time they're wrong. If you obey every negative emotion, every lazy impulse, every fear-based hesitation, you will never rise. You can't think your way out of a dark place. You move your way out. When you feel overwhelmed, when you feel broken, when you feel stuck. That's not a cue to collapse, it's a command to act. The smallest step in the right direction will shift your whole state. But what do people do instead? They sit, they sulk, they scroll, they wait, and then they wonder why life feels heavier, why progress is dead, why they can't find momentum. Because they forgot the fundamental truth. Motion is power. It's not about giant steps. It's about doing the small things when every part of you screams not to. That's the moment you separate yourself. That's the moment you win. Discipline is doing what you said you'd do long after the mood you said it in has left. That's what separates the strong from the weak. The disciplined man doesn't care about the emotional weather. He executes regardless. He treats every feeling like an obstacle to conquer, not a reason to stop. You want mental toughness. Start doing things without waiting to feel good. Start pushing when your mind says stop. Start honoring your commitments even when your motivation is dead. That's how you become unstoppable. The mistake most people make is thinking that motivation leads to action. But it's the opposite. Action leads to motivation. Action builds evidence. Action tells your mind, I'm not here to be soft. I'm here to dominate. When you move despite the discomfort, you rewire your brain, you shift your identity, you start becoming someone who can be trusted by themselves. That's what changes your life, not the feelings, not the aha moments, the repetition, the showing up. The getting it done, no matter what storm is raging inside you. You're never going to feel like it every day. You're not supposed to, but every time you do it anyway, you prove to yourself that your emotions are not your master. That you run the show, and that proof compounds. It becomes self-respect. It becomes self-belief. You look in the mirror and see someone who does what needs to be done, period. That version of you, that's the one who gets results. That's the one who breaks limits. That's the one who becomes dangerous. People say trust your gut. And sometimes that's useful, but most of the time people confuse their gut with their fear. They confuse their instincts with their excuses. I don't feel like going to the gym becomes maybe I need rest. I don't feel like working on my business becomes maybe I need balance. No, you need to stop being weak. You need to do the thing even when the thing feels hard. That's how real strength is forged. There's no greatness without discomfort. There's no excellence without pushing through resistance. You've got to build the habit of movement, regardless of mood. That's the key to momentum. You think high performers wake up every day bursting with energy and drive. No, they've just built the habit of doing the work without emotion dictating the terms. Their feelings are irrelevant. The mission matters more. Action is a weapon. It silences doubt. It smashes fear. It builds identity. It takes you out of your head and into reality, because the mind can lie to you, but action never does. When you move, when you act, when you execute, that's truth. That's proof. And that proof builds certainty. You start realizing you don't need to feel ready to become ready. You just need to move. You just need to act like the person you want to become. And eventually you are. People spend years overthinking, trapped in the same loop of indecision, fear, anxiety, and hesitation. Meanwhile, action could have solved the whole thing in a week. You're not lost, you're inactive, you're not broken. You're passive, you're not defeated. You just haven't stepped into the fire and moved through it. The way forward is not found in more thinking, it's in more doing. You become powerful by choosing action over emotion again and again, until the habit is so deep that nothing can stop your momentum. You were not born with an identity, you were born with potential. The person you are today is not a result of fate or luck. It's a result of every decision you've made up to this point. Identity is not inherited, it's not handed down like some family heirloom, it's not stamped into your DNA. Your identity is forged, molded by repetition, belief, action, and discipline. Every single day, you are either reinforcing the identity of someone powerful, focused, relentless, or you're reinforcing the identity of someone lazy, uncertain, and afraid. The world doesn't define you, your past doesn't define you, you define you, and you do it with how you show up every moment of your life. Most people walk around wearing labels they never chose. Labels slapped on them by society, by parents, by failure, by trauma. You're not smart enough, you'll always struggle, you're just like your father, you're the black sheep, and without even realizing it, they accept these labels as truth. They internalize them, they live beneath them, they shrink their power to fit inside them. That's not identity, that's imprisonment. You weren't meant to live under someone else's definition. You were built to forge your own name, your own path, your own legacy. But that only happens when you realize that who you were yesterday does not get to dictate who you become today. The problem is, people are addicted to their own story. They repeat it in their head like it's scripture. I've always been like this. I can't change now. This is just who I am. No, it's who you've chosen to be again and again. It's who you've allowed yourself to be because you're too afraid to step into the unknown. Change is uncomfortable. Growth is violent to your old self, but comfort is a lie, and the more you cling to your old identity, the more you sabotage your future. You're not stuck because of your circumstances, you're stuck because you keep serving a version of yourself that should have died a long time ago. You don't get to rise and still carry the identity of someone who tolerates weakness. You don't get to chase greatness while thinking like a victim. You don't get to talk about discipline, purpose, and vision while behaving like someone who doesn't respect themselves. Your identity must match your goals. If you want the results of a champion, you better start showing up with the mindset, habits, and hunger of a damn champion. Anything less is delusion. Your habits are your identity in motion. The way you wake up, the way you eat, the way you train, the way you speak, the way you think. These are not random actions. They are identity statements. Every time you hit snooze, you reinforce the identity of someone who delays. Every time you skip the hard thing, you reinforce the identity of someone who avoids pressure. But every time you show up, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching, even when it's uncomfortable, you reinforce the identity of a warrior. You tell your subconscious, this is who I am now. That's how change sticks, not by reading about it. Not by saying affirmations, but by living it. There will always be a war between who you've been and who you're becoming. Your old self will scream, it will fight to survive, it will use guilt, fear, and shame as weapons. It will try to seduce you back into old patterns. That's normal, that's part of the process. But you do not negotiate with weakness. You do not make deals with the version of you that kept you broke, lazy, and distracted. You kill that version daily by choosing differently, by moving differently, by thinking differently. You want to change your life, change your identity. You want to build something legendary. Start behaving like the person who could build it. Act like it's already yours. Think like it's already happening. Execute like your future depends on it, because it does. And stop waiting for permission. No one is coming to hand you a new life. No one is going to knock on your door and tell you, hey, it's time to evolve. That's your job. That's your responsibility. You don't ask for transformation, you declare it, and then you prove it through relentless, consistent action. Stop looking at who you've been and start obsessing over who you want to become. Visualize that version of you in detail. How does he move? How does he think? What does he tolerate? What does he destroy? What does he build? Then align your behavior to that vision every single day until the old you is unrecognizable. You will fail sometimes. You will fall, but every time you get back up and stay committed, you're pouring steel into the foundation of your new identity. There are people who knew you as one version of yourself, and when they see who you've become, they won't even recognize you, and that's the goal. You're not here to stay the same. You're not here to live in the shadow of your past. You're here to evolve so powerfully that your old self becomes jealous. And that kind of transformation doesn't come from wishing or hoping. It comes from taking full ownership of who you decide to be, no matter what's happened, no matter how many times you've failed, no matter what anyone else believes about you. Destiny doesn't belong to the soft, the hesitant, or the ones waiting for life to be gentle. Destiny bows to the ruthless. Not the cruel, not the reckless, but the ruthless in discipline, in vision, in execution. The ones who have burned the excuses to ashes and built their life on clarity, responsibility, and relentless pursuit. Destiny is not some mystical force that rewards the lucky. It is shaped, bent, and dominated by the individual who refuses to be average. It listens to no one except those who speak its language. Consistency, sacrifice, obsession, and refusal to quit. Most people have this childish fantasy that one day, somehow, life will just work itself out. That if they keep existing, keep breathing, keep clocking into their little routines, something will shift. That the world will notice them, that opportunity will knock, that someone will save them. That's not how it works. Life owes you nothing. It doesn't care how hard your childhood was. It doesn't care how many people hurt you. It doesn't care how sad, confused, or tired you feel. This world respects one thing, results, and the people who produce those results are the ones who move forward no matter how hard it gets. You have to develop a kind of cold focus that separates you from the masses, not because you don't feel pain, but because pain is irrelevant to your mission. You move with purpose regardless. You feel broken, good, keep moving. You feel exhausted, perfect, do it tired. You feel like everything is against you. That's exactly when you double down, because that's what it takes. The ability to keep showing up when no one claps, no one cares, and no one is watching. You have to be so committed to where you're going that quitting isn't even a thought. It's not in your DNA. The ruthless understand something the average don't. Comfort is the enemy. Comfort is a trap. It makes you soft. It whispers lies to you. It convinces you to slow down when you should be speeding up. It tells you to take a break when you're barely moving. And every time you listen, every time you hit snooze on your purpose, you train your brain to retreat when life gets intense. That's how weak people are created, by giving comfort more respect than commitment. You don't get to rewrite your destiny by being comfortable. You do it by becoming unshakable in the face of resistance. Every excuse you've made, every moment you delayed, every time you let your emotions dictate your effort, those are the reasons your destiny hasn't shifted. You can't blame your family. You can't blame your environment. You can't blame the economy, your past, or your pain. That game is for victims. The ruthless don't play that game. They accept complete responsibility, even for things outside their control, because ownership is the first step to power. You don't grow by outsourcing blame. You grow by internalizing control. You've got to stop treating your goals like wishes. You've got to stop approaching your life like it's optional. You're not trying something. You're becoming something. That demands a different level of aggression, a different level of intensity, a different level of discipline. The ones who win are the ones who decided they will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes, without apology, without excuse, and without waiting for permission. You need to wake up every day and go to war with the part of you that wants to settle, the part of you that wants to coast, to relax, to escape discomfort. That part of you is the death of everything you could be, and the only way to kill it is with discipline so sharp, so ruthless, that laziness has no room to breathe. You become a different breed by how you act when it's hard. Anyone can show up when they're motivated. Anyone can work when it's easy. But the ones who shift the world are the ones who grind when it's brutal, when it's lonely, when there's no spotlight and no guarantee. Destiny doesn't hand itself to the most talented. It doesn't submit to the smartest or the most naturally gifted. It bows to the one who refuses to stop, the one who has made peace with pain, the one who knows that suffering is part of the process and embraces it like a badge of honor. Because greatness doesn't grow in easy environments, it's carved out of hardship, one disciplined step at a time. It's not fast, it's not glamorous, it's not convenient, but it's real, and the rewards, they don't just change your life, they rewrite your name in history. You need to be the one who can't be broken, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't ask for shortcuts, doesn't beg for easier paths. You want the outcome, then you better fall in love with the process, the boring, repetitive, lonely, painful process. That's where greatness lives. That's where destiny becomes yours. And once you've locked in at that level, once you've trained your mind to operate regardless of emotions, regardless of circumstances, regardless of failure, nothing can stop you. You become inevitable, not because life got easier, but because you got harder. Because you became the kind of person destiny bows to. Not with hope, not with luck, but with ruthless, undeniable execution.